The Phantom of the Opera is a 1925 American silent film. This one stars Lon Chaney. Let me tell you something. I am a huge fan of Phantom of the Opera ever since I saw it on stage when I was in high school. And I mean, I've seen quite a few versions of the story, and this one just blew me away. So, yeah. So first of all, it's based off of course, Gaston Leroux's famous tale, which I've read the novel. I have the novel. And of course. And but here's the interesting thing. The producer at the time, like I think it was 1922, Carl Lamel, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It's an interesting last name. He was the president of Universal Pictures, and he was in Paris, and he met Gaston Leroux. And at the time, Gaston Leroux was actually working in the French film industry. And during their conversation, Gaston Leroux gave him a copy of his novel, Phantom of the Opera, and as it goes, Carl read the book in one night and wanted to do a film, and with the idea of Lon Chaney Sr. being in the film. And so now, when I watched the film, I thought that it was on location. It's not. You know, I had the idea that they did it, they filmed it in an opera house, not so much the Paris Opera House, but in an opera house, and then just kind of dressed it up to look like the opera house. That's no. And that's all a set. I mean, that's impressive. and, and now I think the one thing that was like the most intense scene for me was the part with the chandelier. You know, because in silent film, how are they going to pull that off? Well, they pulled it off wonderfully, and I'll let you see it. And it was, you know, because like now they have, you know, like on stage you expect little tricks and everything, and all of that, and but like, and now we have like CGI and all of that stuff. But silent film, you know, back then, how are they going to do that? And especially with as big as that chandelier is, it's a little scary. And everything. So, and now this film actually remains to be the most famous for Chaney's ghastly makeup. I mean, we all know that he had, like, of course, what is it, London After Midnight with the jagged teeth. And there was also Hunchback of Notre Dame when he played Quasimodo. And I mean, he was a man of a thousand faces. But this one, of course, has where Christine comes up behind him and removes the mask and reveals the Phantom. And if you're unfamiliar with that, it's not so much a spoiler anymore. This is more trivia now. But when she did that, nobody on set knew what his makeup was going to be at that moment. So her uh, face at that moment is completely genuine. The shock look and everything. And that's what he was going for. That's what Lon Chaney Sr. was going for and everything. So yeah, nobody knew what he was gonna look like at that moment. And because they had always seen him with the cloak and everything like that. So now there are tons of myths surrounding this movie, and it makes it difficult to weed out and get to the truth. One thing is okay, so there was somebody who did like this whole thing having to do with this lantern man. Who cares? For some reason, somebody is so fixated on this lantern man. It's a silent film. Who cares what he said? It's a silent film. I was trying to find certain information, and it's like, seriously, it's a silent film. Nobody's saying anything. And I don't know why you spent 20 minutes in a film say I made a 20-minute video fixated on that. And when the star is when the stars of the movie are Mary Philbin and Lon Chaney. Not some random guy in the catacombs. And so yeah, there was that I had to deal with. And then the other thing is the releases of this film. Now, I had somebody when they commented on this, and they were telling me that there were several releases when it first came out. They did like this pre-production, I believe it was, and because the critics and theater goers didn't like it, it was pulled from the theater, and and uh and so it was it was removed from the theater, and they did like this massive re-edit and reshoot. And so I mean, like, there's so it's really hard to, because then there's also there was also a re-release in the 30s with sound, and there's also a release with color. Now, the color version, there's only certain, it's a lot like Ben-Hur, where they do certain points in the movie, and I believe it's like the Masquerade. Yeah, it's the Masquerade. And so because that's like that's a very important scene. And so oh my gosh. And so yeah, trying to figure out all the releases for this movie, and it's like the 1930 release had a whole new cast, or at least Lon Chaney wasn't a part of it. Mary Philbin was, and Norman Kerry was. That's what it was. And so and yeah, it's the releases for this are very confusing, and I have tried very hard to collect all of that information, and I'm sorry that it is so discombobulated here in this critique. But But yeah, so with the 1930 release, there was sound. It did not survive. The soundtrack did. Lon Chaney was not part of it, but Mary Philbin and Norman Kerry were. But when it was first released in 1925, it was pulled from the theater, from what I'm understanding. It was pulled from the theater, and they did a lot of reshoots and everything. And there is a color version, and the only color portion is Masquerade, that entire scene of Masquerade. And it's like 17 minutes long of the color section. Now, there were critical reviews. I mean, like, some people said that the story and the acting could have improved. And I'm not sure what they meant by that. Because quite honestly, I mean, like, I understand that this is 1925, and from what I understand, this is the first movie of Phantom of the Opera. So I don't know, I guess they were expecting more. And but uh but I don't know. It was like, it was too scary, but it has Phantom in it. Yeah, a lot of them were saying that it was too scary, and it was like they were just trying to find something wrong with it. I don't know. I disagree. You know, this is one time where I disagree, and it's not me, because I love this story so much. I mean, you look at some of the reviews that they had, and it was like they were just butchering it to butcher it. I mean, Phantom of the Opera was popular still at that time. It was Phantom of the Opera, the book had been released in 1910, and this is 1925, and it was still very popular. So I I'm not sure what they wanted. It's a dark story. And I don't know. And even uh somebody said to me that this version has a very dark flavor to it. You know, like the one with Gerard Butler, you know, that one's fine. I liked that one, but I do have to agree, the silent version has such a dark feeling to it, like what the story is supposed to have. So yeah, I don't know. I disagree with the reviews. Now, there were differences in the novel, so maybe that's what it was. They didn't stick to the novel. I mean, but it really wasn't extreme. So I don't know. I don't know what they were looking for. But now, I did read somewhere that there was supposed to be uh like a sequel, and the LaRue estate turned them down, but I will double check on that, because yeah, I was sure that I read somewhere that Carl wanted to do a sequel to it, and it kind of it felt, but I'll double check on that and everything. But as a whole, because I think I've made this longer than I need to, um, the the reviews at the time were, yeah, I disagree with them. 100%. There were changes and from the novel and everything, and maybe that's why they were snarky about it. But and uh, this again, when Mary Philbin pulls back the mask and Lon Chaney's face makeup is revealed, that is a genuine reaction. That's not a spoiler at all. That's become cinema trivia. And but this is probably one of Lon Chaney's most famous films. And I mean, I love the story. I really do. And I just I think this has become my favorite version. I'm actually amazed that it wasn't filmed in a theater. That was just an entire set. And what saddens me is that the set was destroyed like in 2014. The entire time that Hollywood had that set, and it was used in other films. I forget which ones. I'll put it in the description box. They had it, and then they just decided to destroy it in 2014, which just, it devastates me. And I'll try and get all that when it comes to the releases and everything. Yeah, there is a color version, and it only shows Masquerade, 17 minutes. There have been other people that have tried to, or other that say that there's another section that's colorized. No, it's just Masquerade. And again, the 1930 version does not have Lon Chaney, only Mary Philbin, and like I've said a dozen times already. But anyway, that is Phantom of the Opera.